What's happening, YouTube? This is Brian916. Thanks for tuning in and welcome back to the channel. So this is going to be part 4 of our what would you rate these tools, where I simply rate a tool from 0 to 10 based on its performance from past experience. So without further ado, let's get into it. Alright guys, so the first particular tool we're going to score is going to be this electric ratchet here by Harbor Freight. And this is going to be from their earthquake line. Many of you guys know, if you watch my videos, that I also have their 1/2-inch impact, and I also have their cordless grinder from the earthquake brand. And I've also scored those in previous videos, so if you're not familiar, check those videos out. But today we're going to go ahead and score this particular electric ratchet. So when I bought this ratchet, Harbor Freight was certainly a different store. They were, at that point in time, not so much trying to be Snap-on, but I really believe that they were improving on a lot of the products that they already had. They were improving the jacks, the jack stands. The Pittsburgh Pro ratchets came out, which did really well for them. The US General toolboxes and tool carts, some of the Central Pneumatic stuff got better. So they were really improving like those staple Harbor Freight brands. But we now know the direction that they took, which was to try to mimic Snap-on and other major tool companies, which I think they did themselves a disservice, because at that point in time, Craftsman was no longer a Sears brand, and Craftsman is not what it used to be. So there was a nice opening in the market there for another tool company to step in and sort of take the place of the quality that Sears provided, which was fairly decent. You could buy a Sears tools and it was reliable enough to be able to get a job done. You could actually fill your toolbox with some Craftsman stuff and show up to work every day and really bust some cars out. So I thought that Harbor Freight, when they started putting out a lot of this stuff, they were going to fill that void of that Sears brand Craftsman, but sadly they chose to go another route and try to mimic the tool truck a brand Snap-on, and try to mimic other tools and sort of try to fool consumers into thinking that the quality of it is the same or it meets or exceeds those other quality tools, when we know that's not the case. So anyway, I'm going to score this ratchet. Nonetheless, I'm going to give it a 9. I think it is a good ratchet. I've had tremendous success with this ratchet. I've used it quite a bit, done lots of engine overhauls with this particular ratchet, and really at the price point, you can't really go wrong with this ratchet. It's going to come with a charger, and it's going to come with a battery, and I think you could get this for like right around $100. When I bought it, I think it was like 99 bucks back when I bought it a few years back. I don't know what it is now. But you can't really go wrong for a $100 electric ratchet that actually works. Harbor Freight did a good job on this one. So I am going to score it a 9. It's been holding up, so yeah, I give this a 9. Okay guys, so the next item on a hot seat is going to be this 3/8 drive socket set by Tekton. Now I still hold the belief that this is probably the best 3/8 drive socket set that you can buy. Tekton did a really good job of putting together a very complete, a very thorough socket set for auto technicians. Now, sockets are going to be probably the primary use tool to remove fasteners in the automotive world, and so we typically reach for socket and ratchet first in most cases. And this thing is pretty complete as far as 3/8 drive sizes go. Alright, so with this case open, we can now take a look at everything that's in this set. This set is going to go from 6mm all the way to 24mm. There's no skips in this set, covering a wide range of automotive fasteners. From 6 to 24, you could get a lot of work done as far as sockets go. And then same thing on the SAE side. So if you work on older vehicles and you're still using imperial sizes, this set is still great because it's going to cover you from a 1/4 inch all the way up to 1 inch, which is still a pretty wide variety of fasteners that you could bust loose with this set. And also, if you just work in a shop, maybe an independent shop that takes, you know, all kind of vehicles through the door, then you know you will get the occasional SAE bolt. It's happened to me plenty of times. For example, I'll run a clip tearing into that other side. All right, let's start tearing into this thing. Let's see, what size is that? 15mm maybe? 14mm. Maybe an SAE size. Here. Yeah, SAE bolt 9/16. And grab a socket for that. So I did that repair probably like 2 years ago. So you still will run into SAE fasteners. So it's good to have a set that will include some SAE stuff if you work at an independent shop. Now moving up here, you can see we got a ratchet here. And when I first looked at this set online, I thought this ratchet was going to be too small. It just seems small if you look at the picture online, but it's not. It's got enough length on it to be able to get the job done. So you can see this is a 6-inch extension. So you can see that the ratchet is probably about 8 inches. So it's got plenty enough length on it to be able to get the job done. But they don't stop there. They include a 3-inch, a universal, and also a breaker bar, and this is all 3/8. So all this is included in this set for 125 bucks. So that's why I say that this is probably the most complete 3/8 drive socket set on the market. And as far as quality goes, it's great quality. I've worked with Tekton tools for a long time. This is not just opening up a package and giving an opinion about something that I think it might perform a certain way. So if you're interested in this 3/8 drive socket set or any other tools by Tekton, there will be a link in the description. It is an affiliate link, so if you click on that link and you make a purchase, I will get a small commission from Tekton tools. I thought I'd mention that because I noticed on YouTube recently there's been a lot of talk about this particular YouTuber is a shill, or this particular YouTuber is a shill for this company, and they're only in it just to sell tools and things like that. So I got some thoughts on that particular topic, and if you want to know more about what I think, stay tuned for the bonus footage. With that being said, guys, I'm going to go ahead and score this Tekton 3/8 drive socket set a perfect 10. Okay guys, so the next tool on the hot seat is going to be this DeWalt 18 volt impact driver tool. I use this tool quite a bit. It's a great tool, and I just want to mention before I score this tool based on my experience with it, I just want to say that this is probably one of the most versatile all around power tools that you can buy. Now if you're an auto technician and you don't have an impact driver tool, I recommend that you pick one up. Most auto technicians don't care to use them because they don't have the square drive on it, and we use a lot of sockets for the most part, and there's no square drive on it. So a lot of technicians will pass up on this tool, but that's a mistake because this is probably one of the most versatile tools that you can use. So right here I'm putting out various bits that you can use in this DeWalt impact gun that makes this tool a versatile set. Okay guys, so you can see I got several bits here that will all go inside this DeWalt impact driver, or any impact driver for that matter. We're rating the DeWalt one, so we're going to keep it DeWalt, but this can work for any impact driver. These are tools that auto technicians will use, so if you don't have an impact driver, you're really missing out. You should pick one up for the versatility. This is a brass wheel to be able to knock old gasket material off, clean rust off, and things like that. So that's a nice surface prep tool, amongst other surface prep tools that you could stick inside your impact driver, but this is just naming one. And then this is actually a grinding stone here. I haven't opened this one up, but I have other grinding stones that I actually use that I stuck inside my DeWalt impact driver to be able to grind cordlessly. So I had bought a lift, and every time I would lower my lift, there was just a little piece of a weld that was sticking out, and it would get the whole car and lift hung up on one side of the lift, and only one of the lift arms would go down, and I'd have to stop it and raise it up again, and I had to figure out why wouldn't it go down. Well, I looked inside the columns and I seen it was just sort of poorly built. It had some rough edges in there and like some welds that was kind of sticking out, and as the lift would go down, it would get hung up. So I just pulled out my grinding stone and went up inside the lift column and grinded it down nice and smooth, and never had a problem with that lift. So these things are really versatile. Also, here we got a chuck to be able to get a socket on there, so you can still bust fasteners loose if you want to. Right here we got a drill bit. You break a bolt off, you need to drill into a fastener to be able to put an easy out in there and remove a broken bolt, or to remove a fastener that has a broken head on it. You got drill bits or whatever else you may need to drill. So you got drill bits here. Also, I got a Phillips tip right here. You need to run some Phillips in. Maybe you're doing some interior work, removing door panels and things like that. A lot of times those will have Phillips screws in them if you're doing any type of dash work. And then last but not least, I got a little brush here to clean up. Maybe you want to clean up some parts. You could scrub some parts, stick it in the drill, run it around, clean it up. Or maybe you want to do a detailed clean on your toolbox, and you will take all your tools out and spray it down and put this in there and let it spin and clean, go wipe it out, get it nice and clean. So there's just so many uses for an impact driver as an auto technician. I really think if you don't own one of these bad boys, you should probably pick one up. Alright guys, so as you can see, there's just so many uses. This is probably one of the most versatile electric tools that you can buy. I have a DeWalt. There's many different ones, but I'm going to judge the DeWalt based on what it can do. So I first bought a tool like this back in like 2007, and that tool lasted me heavy use from like 07 all the way to, I want to say, like maybe 2017 or so, where it would not turn on when I squeezed the trigger. I'd have to hold the trigger down for like 3 or 4 seconds before the tool kicks in. This is their older style impact drivers. You can see here that this is how the new style DeWalt impact drivers look. And they got a little bit smaller, and they still deliver the same amount of power. Reason why I don't use this one anymore and I had to buy another one is because when you put a battery in it, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. If I squeeze this trigger, a lot of times it won't work, and sometimes it will. So you see how it worked, and then let me squeeze it again, it may not work. So that tool is probably still in use, because I mailed it off to a buddy of mine, and he was able to repair it, and he passed it on to another technician that's probably using it right now. So
these things, in my opinion, are really good tools. I would say the only downside to this tool is probably the battery life. It doesn't have the best battery, although it charges really fast, so I do like that about it. I noticed that I do go through these DeWalt batteries pretty quick, depending on how heavy you use them. Now, I know this is not the most updated impact driver tool. They got much better batteries than this now, but that just shows you, you know, how long I've been using this, and it hasn't failed on me, so there's no reason for me to upgrade yet because I'm still using it. So with that being said, guys, I'm gonna score this thing an 8. I would give it a perfect 10, but like I said, the battery is an issue. It does fail on you quite fast, so I would give it an 8. And one more honorable mention before we bring the next tool out. I also use these batteries to help me diagnose components, whether or not a component is working. You can see here where I marked the polarity on this battery. So I will take this battery to somewhere with me, like to a junkyard if I want to get an electrical fan or something like that. And I'll just jump this component and see. I'll use this battery to jump the component at the junkyard to see if it works before I even pull it. Or step 1. If you're here for an electrical component, such as a radiator fan, bring you a battery like this so that you can test it to see if the component works. So let's jump it and see if it works. So as we can see, we got a working fan, so you can pull this fan out, and if you want, you can test the AC fan as well. Make sure both fans are working so that you can make sure you It's pretty versatile. I can actually use the tool to help me remove the item, and I can also use the battery as well to help me test the component. So this thing has been very instrumental for me repairing vehicles over the last, I'd say, 14 to 15 years. All right, on to the next tool. Okay guys, so the next item we got in the hot seat is gonna be these high leverage double box in wrenches by Genius Tools. Now I've put a lot of use on these tools. They're long, so they provide a lot of leverage, and it really makes it easy to bust a fastener that's on there pretty tight. Now, you may not realize how tight that fastener is on if you put a 3/8 drive, a ratchet, or you put another tool on there. Even an impact, you may be impacting away, and the bolt will seem extremely stubborn. But then you put one of these high leverage double box stands on there, and you put some torque on it, and the bolt busts pretty quick. So it's a no-brainer for me. These tools are definitely a great addition to any mechanic's tool set. I gotta say, I really do like these wrenches by Genius. Okay, so my only gripe with these Genius wrenches is gonna be the double sizes on here. You can see that this one goes from 19 to 17 instead of from 19 to 18. The next size over is going to be an 18 and 16. So I don't see why you couldn't just went 19, 18 and then 17, 16. So I thought that was kind of weird. But also you got a 17 here on this one, and there's also a 17 here attached to the 14. So the sizing on these are kind of goofy, and that would be my only gripe about this particular tool. Does it work? Yes. When you put a lot of leverage on this, it has very little flex. You can see the design is more of a squarish design. It's just thicker and stronger that is square. Now it's not the most comfortable, but then again, you're going to be using it to put a high leverage on it, so you're not really looking for comfort, you're looking for strength. But yeah, these are pretty strong. That's the only thing I would say I don't like about it, is the way it's sized. And I think the way wrenches usually gradually step down in size, I do believe that two of these are the same exact size for the most part. and it's stepping down to a 12, 14, and 12. It's pretty much the same size as the 15 and 13. So the sizing on it is somewhat goofy, but will this tool work for you? Absolutely. I use these tools all the time. I think I paid about 99 bucks for these tools. I bought them on Amazon. I definitely feel that I got my money's worth. I've cracked a lot of bolts free with this wrench set. So I wouldn't discourage anybody from picking up this Genius tool set. I definitely think it's worth the money. For 100 bucks, you can't really go wrong. You're not gonna always need a long double box stand like this, but when you do need it, you'll be glad you had something like this. You can't always fit an impact gun into every location, and you can't always get a socket on something. You may not have the clearance for the length of a socket as well. So there will come a point in time when you need a wrench with a lot of leverage on it. This will keep you from having to do the double wrench trick, you know, which we've all done, but this will prevent you from having to do that, which it can get risky sometimes depending on how tight that bolt is. So anyway, I recommend these. So with that being said, the score that I'm going to give these an 8. Definitely had to dock 2 points from the goofy sizing, and 2 sizes being the same exact size when we should be incrementally decreasing the size based on leverage need for the size of a fastener. So I definitely take 2 points for that, but other than that, I give them an 8. I do recommend them. They are a good tool. Okay, so next up, guys, let's score the Snap-on product. This is going to be a Snap-on 1/2-inch drive torque wrench. So this is a digital torque wrench, not the click style. So I really do like this torque wrench by Snap-on. It's got good length on it. It's very beefy, a lot beefier or thicker than a lot of other torque wrenches, and it's a lot heavier than a lot of other torque wrenches too. There's just a lot of mass to this torque wrench, but it is the torque angle. It has the torque angle on it, as well as the foot pounds. So I believe this torque wrench starts at 16 foot pounds. So anything under that, if you purchase this or if you have this, you're gonna have to convert it into inch pounds and use your inch pound torque wrench, because this starts at 16 foot pounds. And I'm not sure where it maxes out, but I'm pretty sure it maxes out pretty high. Let's see, it also has of course your torque angle. It's at 89 degrees currently from whatever I was doing last, I guess. And then I want to say is there Newton meters on here as well? Okay. Oh, so there is inch pounds on here. I've never used the inch pound setting on here. Forgot it had it. So there is inch pounds on here. There we go. We do have Newton meters on there for your European vehicles. And then we got the KGM. I'm not sure who uses this measurement system to measure torque, but it has the KGM on there. And then back to the foot pounds. So I really do like this tool. You can light it up as well. Is this tool somewhat expensive? Yeah, it's pretty expensive. Honestly, the time that this thing saved me, I was busting out so many engine repair jobs when I was running my auto repair business. It's not even funny. Des, the auto tech, could tell you, every time we came to work, there was either a vehicle waiting outside the shop, or there was like 10 messages with somebody looking for Brian to do the work on their vehicle. So we were pretty busy at that point in time. Des was busting them out with me, and honestly, we needed something to cut time in half, and that's why I bought this, because it really helped save time from using this angle gauge tool, which is what I used to use. And it takes a while to get this thing set up. It's just not, if you're in a hurry, this is not a tool that you want to use. It's accurate, you know, but it takes a long time to get this tool set up. So buying this snap-on torque wrench really saved me a lot of time, because I could put in, you know, 40 foot-pounds, boom, bust it to 40, tighten it to 40, and then immediately go up to, you know, 120 degrees or 90 degrees, 160 degrees, whatever the spec calls for, and don't have to run to and get another tool or try to get my angle gauge tool set up. So this really did help speed time up tremendously. So is this tool expensive? Yeah, like I said, it is kind of expensive, but if you are working in a busy shop, it's worth the investment, because it will save you a lot of time, and you'll in turn get your money back on this tool, and then of course start making money off of the tool. So I do think it's a great tool. I'm gonna score this thing a 10 out of 10. I can't find anything wrong with it, other than the fact that it's expensive, but it's snap-on. We expect it to be expensive. I'm not gonna bring price into it, just straight usability, functionality, and durability. I give it a 10. So this tool definitely performs well. All right, moving on to the next. Okay guys, so I got two more tools before we get out of here. Now, both of these tools are going to be not common tools used by auto technicians, but as you see these tools and you realize that you don't have these next two tools that I'm showing, and you are an auto technician, you should consider picking them up. So the next tool is going to be a Dremel tool. Now this is a small rotary tool made by Dremel, and I do recommend that you do buy a Dremel because there's a lot of cheap rotary tools out here that doesn't perform quite as well as Dremel. Now this thing has a lot of different functions on here. I primarily use this tool to get myself out of a jam most of the time. So I'm going to set up just a bit in here so you can see how it works. So you can see here, I now have a small cutoff wheel, and these cutoff diffs work great. If you need to make a small cut and you're in a location where you don't need this cutoff wheel to hit maybe a fuel line or an AC line, or you don't need it to nick a rubber hose or something like that, if you're doing some cutting inside the engine compartment, which may happen from time to time, you never know. But if you do get in a situation like that, maybe there's a transmission hose or something underneath that's leaking and you want to just cut a section out and add some rubber hose or something like that, but there's other you know, AC lines or things like that near it, this is perfect to use. It's small enough, it's small and accurate, so you can just get it on that line and cut it, keep it still, and it gives you that small, precise accurateness that you need to keep you from, you know, touching any other components. Also, I use this, like I said, to get me out of a jam. I use this to get broken screw extractors out. So if you've ever broken the head of a screw off or a bolt off, and you had to drill a hole into that fastener, tap an easy out in there and pray you don't snap in that broken fastener. Well, if you do, a lot of times you can use this Dremel tool to get you out of a jam. Now, I made a video on how to use this Dremel to remove a broken easy out. If you're interested in that video, I'll leave a link in the description. And I got a lot of comments on that video of people telling me just weld a nut onto it and bust it free that way. Well, it all depends on, one, how the fastener breaks in there. Not all the time can you get enough weld on there. I'm pretty sure there's plenty of people out there who's tried that technique and just couldn't get a strong enough weld on it to be able to bust it loose, especially if it's a stubborn fastener. Or it might be a bolt that broke off into a plastic intake, maybe an aluminum housing, maybe an expensive stainless steel chain or belt cover on a Harley Davidson or something like that. Do you want to go trying to weld on that? No. So there are cases when you can't just weld a nut onto a broken fastener to remove it, depending on the type of stuff you work on. If you're working on some really nice stuff with a lot of chrome around, that's not an option. So this thing works great for removing broken easy outs if you break an easy out inside a fastener. So if you haven't seen that video, check it out. I'm gonna give this Dremel tool a perfect 10. I highly recommend it. If you're an auto technician and you don't have one, you should consider picking one up. Okay guys, so the next tool in the hot seat that a lot of technicians don't have is going to be this plastic welding kit, or a plastic welder. A lot of techs don't have this tool, and if you've ever been in a situation where you broke off the tip of a little vacuum spout, or you know, broke some type of plastic piece that it's going to take you a long time to get another one, this is a good way to make a pretty strong repair to sort of get you out of a jam where you can still use that vehicle until a new one comes in, because nothing's going to beat replacing a broken item, but this will definitely get you out of a jam if you accidentally break something. We all know the hose will stay on a plastic spout for a long time, and you go to remove it and there's nothing you could do. You know, the spout just came off with the hose, and you may not be able to get that part in for a few days. So what do? Plastic welding is a good way to go. It's a lot better than using zip ties and things like that to hold stuff together. So this is one that I bought from Harbor Freight. It's basically just a hot iron that you plug in. It gets hot, and hot enough to melt plastic. It also comes with these little filler rods. So if you melt some plastic, say you got a big hole in whatever it is you're trying to repair, you could actually melt some of this material here and fill in that hole. I did do a video on this. I'll also link that in the description, and I also demonstrated in that video how to use a hot knife method. You can see I got a little pocket screwdriver in here, because this is the method I used to use before I actually bought one of these plastic welders. And I will basically just use one of these propane tanks and just heat up a pocket screwdriver like this with this little propane tank until this thing got cherry red, and then I would use that to then melt whatever plastic it was that I was trying to weld. Then you can see here how you can just, you know, start to melt that plastic. In this case, I'll just burn through it to show you that you can melt the plastic like that. And it has a nice flat tip on it, so you can really go through and smooth over the plastic as you weld it. So that was one method that I used, but a better way to do it would be to buy a plastic welder. So I'll just run a short clip of me demonstrating how this thing works. In a situation like this, guys, I would definitely recommend you pick up a plastic welder and go ahead and weld this vacuum spout back on. That was our spot weld basically, so now we could go around and fill it all in. What I like to do is take some material, melt a little bit of material from the spout and push it back to sort of like fill it in. So let's go around here and fill this all in. Like I said, I like to just work a little bit of material over. That was a pretty effective repair, much better than using glue or anything like that, which is going to heat up and fall off. This is a pretty permanent repair. If you get good enough at plastic welding, you could definitely make a solid repair. It's not a cheap repair, so you can see that you could definitely put a hose back on this. Okay guys, so as you can see, this is an effective tool. It will get the job done. You can solder some plastic back together. Is it the best plastic welding iron? No. It takes a long time to heat up when you plug it in. I've noticed it takes a little bit longer than a soldering iron does, so there's some that heat up a lot quicker and get a lot hotter. So heat is definitely your friend when you're plastic welding. You definitely want it to get hot. And I think this thing gets hot enough to melt plastic, but there are better tools. So with that being said, I'll give it a 6. It does work, but I do have to take some points away for how long it takes to heat up. And it just doesn't get quite as hot as some of the other plastic welders that I've used in the past. So anyway, I give this item a 6. Alright, well let me say thank you for making it this far in the video. In this particular bonus footage, I'm going to be talking about a situation that transpired between Redemption Garage and Harbor Freight Tools, and also how it relates to the Talking Bear or the Den of Tools, and also Garnett Tools have also gave his commentary on the situation. So basically, Redemption Garage, if you're not familiar with his channel, you should definitely check him out, subscribe to him. He has very good visual and audio quality videos. You can tell it's experience based, and he gives his honest opinions, and really that's all you can ask for in a tool reviewer. So check him out. Definitely a good channel. So anyway, Redemption Garage talked about the relationship between him and Harbor Freight, and how once he had gave a negative review about one of their products, which really what he mentioned wasn't that negative, you know, it was a critique. It wasn't like he called it junk. He was just critiquing it, which is what a company typically wants because it helps them to improve on their products. But not all companies want that. Every company has a right to do whatever it is that they want to do with the products that they sell. So Harbor Freight did not want that. This is something that I talked about almost a year ago, if not a year ago. I'm gonna go ahead and play some footage of that just to sort of let you guys know what I mean. So then the next hot topic seemed to be the guys that just do tool reviews versus, you know, the real technicians out there that's working every day in the field. On this particular topic, of course, it makes a lot of sense for the technicians to feel that companies should come to us first because we're the ones that's going to give you a real review on the tool. But every company may not be looking for a real review. Some companies may not want you to put out anything about the tool that you find negative. Maybe they want a biased opinion. Not every company wants an unbiased opinion. So it all depends on the company, you know, that's reaching out to you and what they want. Some companies do just want all positive feedback, so they may choose certain people that they feel they're going to get just positive feedback by, or there may be some stipulations when they contact you about what they want you to say or not say. So when I made that video, I was trying to educate YouTubers and product reviewers that if a company reaches out to you, make sure you know what that company wants before you start talking about their products. In Redemption Garage's case, they gave him quite a bit of compensation. I know he has at least about $5,000 worth of products from Harbor Freight. The Icon toolbox is not a cheap toolbox. So yeah, whenever a company compensates you, No, they don't want you to say anything negative about their products. That's not what they paid you for. So make sure you understand exactly what a company wants from you. And I know in his video he talked about how, you know, the relationship changed. Well, of course the relationship changed. They didn't pay you to steer people away from Harbor Freight. They paid him to, you know, say something positive about the tools. And, you know, they expected him to know that when he accepted the product. Furthermore, Harbor Freight already has a reputation for having junk tools or poor quality tools. So the last thing that they want is for someone that they pay to, you know, go on in front of an audience and say that, you know, their tools are junk or their tools are inferior. So Redemption Garage, if you're watching this, I wouldn't sweat it. Just make sure you know what a company wants before you start reviewing their products, and just understand that whenever you turn your camera on and you start discussing a product, you are a salesman for that particular company, whether they're compensating you or not. So you might as well get compensated for it. That's why I released a video talking about why I no longer shop at Harbor Freight. I was able to pick up on some of this stuff a lot earlier than some of these other guys out here just now starting to pick up on about Harbor Freight and their business practices and what type of company it is. So you notice as you look on YouTube, there's a lot of passion about hand tools. Why are people so passionate about it, and why do you care? I get that a lot. People ask me, so what, Brian, why do you care? Well, I literally have been able to take care of myself and my family because of these hand tools. It's literally our livelihoods. So it's different for you if you don't do this for a living or you don't use tools for a living. But if you do use tools for a living, then it means a lot more to you. So I'm going to play a clip from Garnett Tools, and I want you guys to pay attention to what he said about Harbor Freight, because this is something that I've said many times about there being a true difference between a premium product and an inferior product posing as a premium product. So take a look at what Garnett Tools said. I couldn't say it better myself. So check it out.
What they're doing is marketing to the mid-range consumer. All right, you have your guys down here that don't give a damn. They'll buy tools at Walmart. And then you have your guys up here that will buy the most expensive Snap-on whatever. They are going to use that marketing, because to this group down here, if you're telling this group down here, if we have this quality product, they're going to look at that as, you know, something to like look up to, like it's something to be admired or something of value. It's better than that Stanley, when really it's on the same level as a Stanley, just with some better eye candy and better features. It's designed pretty much in the same place. So that's really what they're doing. They don't want that super professional customer. They know that they can't compete with them, but as long as they keep comparing themselves to them, that the customer down here that's going to spend that smaller amount of money is going to come in and buy their tools because it's marketed as quality premium product, but at a mid or low tier price range. They're comparing themselves to them on purpose to sell you a lower end product.
100%. I absolutely agree with what Garnett Tools said about Harbor Freight's marketing strategy. Couldn't have said it better myself. 100% accurate. This is the marketing strategy that Harbor Freight is employing at this point in time to sell Icon tools. If you haven't subscribed to Garnett Tools, you're really missing out. Go over there, subscribe to his channel. The guy does a lot of research. He knows what he's talking about before he uploads the video. He has great editing skills. Also, the video Always has very high quality picture, high quality sound. Definitely a good YouTube channel to check out. So before I move on and give my opinion on whether or not the Talking Bear is a shield for Harbor Freight, if you've gotten nothing out of this, just know that Harbor Freight's Icon tools is no different than all the other tools inside of Harbor Freight. There's nothing special about Icon tools. It's no different than like Garnett tool set, a Stanley. So before I get into whether or not the Denna tools is a shield for Harbor Freight, check out what this one YouTuber by the name of Yamaha Adventures had to say.
Don't get sucked in by these sites like the Denna Tools guy. That guy blows more hot air about tools. I mean, when he sat there and made the comment that Harbor Freight tools outperform Snap-on, he lost every bit of credibility he may have ever had, because that is just an outright bald-faced lie. If Snap-on tools were being outperformed by Harbor Freight tools for 25% of the cost, trust me, every mechanic in town would be running to Harbor Freight for all their tool purchases.
Well guys, how's the old saying goes? If something is too good to be true, then it probably is. So anyway, I'm going to get into my personal thoughts on how I feel about the Denna tools and whether or not he's a shield for Harbor Freight. So personally, I don't watch his channel as a professional auto technician, someone who has been diagnosing and repairing all types of vehicle problems for years. It just doesn't appeal to me watching a cartoon. I rather watch, other mechanics work and give their review while actually using the tool. I rather watch other blue collar guys, whether it be a plumber, electrician, a handyman, a diesel technician, any type of blue collar worker. It's always a difference when you see those guys review a tool versus just a product reviewer. The product reviewer feels more commercial like, and that's typically not what I look at when I look at product reviews or I look at tool reviews. I don't really look at his channel. Not to say that some people don't like it. Some people who are not blue collar workers or who are just DIYers or maybe advanced DIYers, they may like it. They may look at it as like going through a sales paper. For example, when you get mailed a flyer, a Harbor Freight flyer or something like that, you may pull it out the mailbox, bring it in the house, go through it and look at all the different sales. So he kind of appeals to those type of viewers who like to look at it like they're looking at a sales paper. So to each his own. Now I do think that I hope he is getting paid by Harbor Freight. He is pushing a lot of products for Harbor Freight. They better be paying him. As far as him being a shield for Harbor Freight, now when I looked at some of his content on YouTube, the guy is in a wheelchair. He looks like he may have some type of disability or something like that. So it may be very limited for him at this time to do that type of physical labor. So I think that he was very smart in being able to create a revenue source for himself, being that he doesn't have the same mobility that he may not once have had. So from that perspective, I don't really see nothing wrong with what he's doing. I wouldn't necessarily call him a shill. He's doing exactly what a company would want you to do when they pay you to do something. That's not going to be give an honest review. That's not going to be say anything negative. It's going to push your product, and that's what I think he's doing. So with that being said, guys, I absolutely have no problem whatsoever with what this guy is doing. We all know 90% of Harbor Freight tools are junk. 10% of their tools are acceptable, and maybe 1 or 2 items may be above average at best. So if you let an animated bear talk you into believing something otherwise, then that's your problem. So more power to the Den of Tools. So make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. This is Brian916. I'm going to leave you with a compilation of positive quotes. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. And I'll see you guys on the next one.